And welcome back to Wrestling Mindset. Today we are here with the greatest pinner of all time and one of the greatest wrestling minds to ever exist, great Wade Schalles. Wade, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share what I've learned, during my career and over the years in the sport, and maybe we'll have some fun and tell some jokes and maybe upset some people too.
Excellent, excellent. It's a win if we could do all of them, right? Good stuff. So I've been watching hours and hours of, a lot of your technique videos, legal pain, as well as just different clinics that I could find on YouTube. And I just really wanted to pick your brain about, just approaching the sport of wrestling. I see on Instagram pops up a lot, scientific wrestling. And of course, the first step in the scientific method is having a hypothesis. So a philosophy. So science begins with philosophy. So it seems like that's a good place to start the sport of wrestling rather than just do. Think about what we're doing. Be a little more scientific and philosophical about it.
Okay.
So what would you say? What would be, just as a wrestler starts the sport, how should a coach teach that the wrestler should be conceptualizing wrestling? What's it all about? How do I get there?
Rephrase that. That was a real broad, let's narrow that down a little bit.
Very broad. When a kid starts wrestling, what's the first things they should be thinking about?
A smile.
Smile.
A smile. Fathers, coaches, pay attention. You want him to win the nationals. You think he's at Penn State wrestling room right away, and you're beating the hell out of him. And then you run to practice, and then you run home, and he can see on your face, children understand when dad is upset, not happy, or mother, and dad can say, it was a good practice today. But his look on his face is saying something completely different. He knows, this boy knows, or the girl, that he just or she just disappointed dad somewhere along the line. And it would be easier to say, I don't like the sport, dad, and slowly phase himself out than to face dad's disappointment. Dad, you have no idea how much you can hurt or please your children by the look on your face. There's the message that you say, and then there's what's called a meta message. And that's what you read in the person's face. And the message may be one thing, and the kid knows you're lying, dad, because your face says something completely different. And they don't like disappointing mom or dad. And if they can get out of it, they're going to. We lose. If there's grass in someone's backyard, there's always two kids wrestling over top of the grass. Every kid in every neighborhood wrestles. I think every child, male from years ago, not so much female today, but we're getting there. Wrestle Like a Girl is doing a wonderful job with where we're going with the ladies. I'm so excited about the women's program. But on the male side, from 5 years ago, 20 years ago, every male wrestled at one time or another in the backyard. It may not have been an organized practice, and then they did, if they spent more time on the top than they did underneath somebody, then they thought, well, maybe you should try that in a sport in college or in high school, middle school, elementary. And if they didn't do so well, they don't try out. But I think everyone's tried it. It's like soccer. Everyone's tried playing kickball in the park, in the city park. So everyone's kind of played soccer a little bit. And they've figured out whether they're any good at it or not. So once you get a young man who wants to come out, or the dad wrestled at one time, so his kid automatically has to wrestle. I mean, I told my three boys, I have two adopted boys, and one came the old-fashioned way. Now you guys don't have to wrestle because I did. However, if you want to eat my food and live under my roof, but there's no pressure. You're wrestling whether you like it or not. No. So the answer to the question is, Dad, pay attention here. When you are done with practice every night, especially when they're young, you do not rush home. You stop at the 7-Eleven on the way home, at the Dairy Queen, and you buy them a slushie or an ice cream cone. and you sit in the car and you show each other's the red tongue, from the Slurpee, and you laugh at each other and you don't talk about the wrestling. You learn so much about your kid during that half hour of a Slurpee sitting in the car in the parking lot of 7-Eleven. So there was a cherry on top of the burned hamburger. There was the wrestling practice, because even if they did good or did bad, you don't talk about it. But Dad, you can't keep your mouth shut. I know you get there in the car and you want to talk about wrestling. You're an idiot. Stop. Make it a fun experience. I did that for my 3 boys, and they told me later in life, the only reason we went to practice is to get the Slurpee, or the ice cream cone on the way home. You have to make it enjoyable. And in wrestling, what we do at the early ages, and next thing you know, coach comes up, your kid has had 3 nights of practice, 3 or 2 or 6 or whatever, something early in his career. Hey, we're going to a tournament this weekend in Harrisburg. Hey, we should have him. He should come along with us. You think he's ready? Oh yeah, he'll be fine. It's experience. Well, okay, Dad, you have to learn to say no and hell no. I mean, he has no business going to a tournament after 1, 2, 3 weeks or 3 months of practice. All he's going to do is he's going to learn how to become humble real quick and realize this sport ain't for me. It's not fun because Dad might say, "You really tried. I'm really proud of you," but the face says, "I'm disappointed." After the loss, they can read your face, and they do not like this disappointing their parents. I'm 72. My mother's 94. I still don't like to disappoint her, and you certainly don't when you're 6 or 7 or 8. No kid should go to a wrestling tournament until he has at least 2 years of experience under his belt. Now, I said 2 years. Don't hold me to 2 years and 1 day, or, well, he's 1 week away. But the general idea, he's got to be ready to go. It should be fun. And then when he has enough skill set, I mean, most kids, and when they're first early on, they go to a tournament, they don't even know where to put their hands or what line, should I step on this red line or the green taped line? Where do I put my hands down? I got cautioned because I didn't know to put a hand on the elbow in referee's position. And you expect them to have success? All you're doing is teach them how to fail. And then after 4, 5, 8 failures, Dad, I want to focus on my academics, because he knows that's big with Mother. So Dad can't argue with that lineup. I want to focus on academics. I'm not sure so how's the dad supposed to say, "No, to hell with your academics, you're going to wrestle"? No, so he finds a way to get out of it, and he quits. I can't imagine how many Olympic champions, NCAA champions, state champions we ran out of the wrestling room in the first year of their career. That could have been just outstanding, scholarship driven, free college education, because Dad's an idiot for the first year. And when you're in the stands, Mom and Dad, keep your mouth shut. You don't have to get down backside and I know you're getting torn up inside, but you're not supposed to be doing that. You got to sit up there and the mother just said, "Hey, good job. Appreciate, good effort. Great." Then go to Dairy Queen. You got to give them a carrot somewhere along the line. Fathers are tremendously hurtful across the board. I mean, I was bad, because I didn't know any better. There was no Wade telling me what the hell to do when I was, 28, with a child, taking to wrestling practice. I knew more than most, but it's still, and all 3 of the boys did really, really well in wrestling. And they're quality people today in life, in work, at work ethic, moral standards. I think because of what they learned in the sport of wrestling. Everyone knows how great wrestling is if you're in the sport, but unfortunately, too many people don't have a clue what wrestling is, other than it's 2 barbarians rolling around, toothless mouth breathers, knuckle draggers, the other side of the track type kids. Because we do have quite a few kids from the other side of the tracks who we've actually saved their lives opportunities that they would never have had. It is a sport for all people. I mean, we've had, people who's, the son of a CEO of some corporation doing very well too, as well as the other side of the tracks. It's a wonderful, wonderful sport, but we have to protect our athletes, protect our children. And parents want to do that. They say they want to do that, but what they're saying and what they're doing are two completely different things. And that's very disheartening to watch. And I go to tournaments and I go, Dad, sit down, shut up, go up in the stands. I know what you want. That's my son. I know, but if I could videotape you and see what this is what your son's seeing, you're probably better off not going. And then when they go to tournaments when they're too young in that first 2 years, they get their ass waxed, the first match and then the consolation round, and they're done wrestling in the first hour of a 12-hour tournament. So for the next 11 hours, they get to sit in a 14,000 square foot beige concrete building and do nothing except watch their teammates wrestle. Wow. Hey, Dad, next week, can we go do this again? That was so much fun. No, Dad says you're going, and the kid goes, how the hell do I get out of this? I got to get Dad off my back here. And they quit. We lose so many children that we could help. And it's sad, and I don't know how to reach them. Obviously a podcast like this will help reach some. And I think what I'm doing is I'm over talking about this subject. Maybe we can, or we could be here for 3 hours, but I think you probably want to move on to at least two other questions you had.
No, and I think that's really important because to start a kid up with success, well, first of all, it's like they don't have to wrestle. It's not a commandment that thou shalt wrestle. It's nice to wrestle. We know all the values and the character that we develop, but it's like you don't have to do it. So you better look at it from that point of view. It's optional. And if you want the kid to be good and to gain the life lessons, hey, let's set them up with the right attitude from the beginning and not make it all about wrestling. It starts with the parents, right?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. And now once they do take the mat, because a lot of, like we were talking about before, a lot of times it's the parents who's the first coach, right? Maybe they wrestled, maybe they didn't wrestle, but now they're in front of the kid and other people. What should they tell the kid in the beginning? How should they look at the sport of wrestling, maybe even before making contact with another person?
Well, that's more philosophical answers here. Maybe I'll go into Dad. I'm assuming he wrestled because a lot of times that's how Johnny ends up in the sport. Dad was good with a single leg, a switch, and a half Nelson. Made that up, and that's what he's going to teach his kid. And on the face of it makes sense. However, let me go to a different level. If you are 5'6" and you're in the NBA, you're not the center. And I can take you and I could put you in a weight room and I could train you to get stronger and stronger. And no matter what I do, no matter how strong you are, what kind of vertical leap you have, you're not going to be the center in the NBA. If you are 320 pounds, you're not the free safety in the football team. Well, that falls under the. So there are certain skill sets designed for certain sports or positions within a sport. Nose guard for the 320, absolutely. Shooting, shooting guard, absolutely at 5'6", not the center. So there are certain techniques in wrestling that are designed for different body types. If you are tall in your weight class, every time what's tall? Well, when you weigh in and you see the other 8 guys in your weight class and they're weighing in next to you, are you tall or are you short? Are you medium? And that'll tell you whether you're tall or short in your weight class. Now, in 10 years, you may grow out of it. You may be short. I don't know. But right now, you're tall. There are 3 things a tall wrestler is really good at. He has more reach than his opponent. longer arms, like in boxing, that's important. The reach for striking. You have more flexibility than the short guy, and you have more leverage. Reach, flexibility, leverage. Those three things are your skill sets when you're tall in your weight class. If you are short, you have three skill sets that the tall guy doesn't have. You are always stronger than your opponent. You are always faster than your opponent. And you're also always more powerful, which is a combination of speed and strength. So you have power, strength, and speed that the tall guy does not have. Now, those particular skills have certain techniques that really work well for the short guy or the tall guy. And if dad is short and you happen to get your mother's height, dad's teaching you short shit, the stuff that he did well because he was short. Well, the tall guy can't do that. So he's automatically pretending, oh, I know a lot about wrestling. I'm going to coach my son. Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about right now, you're teaching the wrong thing. You're teaching the 5'6" guy to be the center of the basketball team. You're teaching him to fail right out of the get-go, right out of the gate. So if you are short and powerful, you attack straight in. Double leg, high crotch, short guys. A lot of success with that. Tall guys, if you teach them a double leg or high crotch, they will struggle until they retire and never get a high crotch or a double leg because of their length. They don't have the power, they don't have the speed or the strength to pull the legs in and knock a guy over with a double leg. You're teaching your kid how to lose. It doesn't work that way. Okay, short guy. He only has that far to go for a stand-up. He's explosive, power, speed. And he only has that far to go to stand up because he's short. Stand-ups are wonderful for short guys. Tall guys, it looks like you look like a newborn fawn trying to stand up. And then you get chopped back down, you try to get up and you're down again, and you can't get up. Chop tight waist. I mean, basic 101 wrestling. Chop the arm, tight waist. Well, if you're powerful and strong, that works. If you're tall and have skinny arms, you could be chopping on that guy's arm all day and you can't get it out from underneath him. So if I'm teaching you a chop tight waist as a coach, I'm teaching you how to lose because you'll never chop anybody and ride anybody with those arms. Sorry, but we can teach you other things. You can ride legs when you're tall and lean. You've got a great amount of reach. You can sting the shit out of them with a cross face because you can reach the whole way across and get that far arm. With the little short, squatty arms, can't reach over there and get that. Half Nelson, you can put a half Nelson on when you're tall, but turning the guy over is a bitch when you're skinny. Short guy has a good half Nelson. Tall guys cradle the hell out of you because they can reach the whole way around and get their hands locked because they have, a 6-foot diameter circle with their arms. So there are certain techniques that really work depending upon your body type. And what coaches have a tendency to do in the wrestling room, we're teaching everybody the same thing. All right, guys, we're doing double legs. Ready? And they do a double leg, double leg, double leg. All right, stand-ups. Okay, and so on. Well, if 42% of your wrestling room is tall and 58 is short, it could be 70-30, it could be 50-50, just whatever it happens to be. If it's 50-50, you're teaching half your kids how to lose, no matter what you're teaching, because you're going to teach something that half of them can't do because they're tall versus short. What you should do, high school, college, I don't care what wrestling room you're in, is you divide your team short and tall. Okay, whatever percentage it happens to be, it doesn't matter. You teach the tall kids tall stuff, the short kids short stuff, and then say, okay, we're going to do short guys, high crotch, tall guys, swing single. If you're tall, you never go in to the tree, your opponent being the tree, knock him over. you have to go around the tree, never through the tree. Short guys go through the tree. They don't have the time to go around. They can't get their arms the whole way around the leg on a swing single. Tall guys do swing singles. They get out from underneath the tree because the tree's going to fall on them, underhooks and, encounter. So you learn to do swing singles or maybe a low. Now, low, you can go straight in with long arms with a John Smith low single. You can drop it because you have the reach. You can reach out and get that ankle. Short guys, you can buy the John Smith tape and memorize it. And if you're short, you ain't ever going to get it because your arms are too short in relation to your opponents. So anyhow, you blow the whistle and you have these 42% of the team doing the swing singles and this 58% of the team doing, straight in high crotches, whatever. Okay, bottom. Top guy, chop tight waist. Short guys, top tight waist. Tall guys, spiral ride. Okay, ready? Then you drill them and they're doing two different things. You don't have the whole team doing everything that you're showing because they can't do it. It's like, teaching everybody in the football team how to be a free safety. The entire line's wasting their time back there. They're never going to be on the starting lineup in a free safety when they're over 250 pounds. Now, we see that, and everybody goes, well, that makes a lot of sense in basketball and in football. Yeah, well, I'll take that same philosophy and move it over to wrestling. It's the same thing. So parents, a lot of times, they don't know what they see. They buy John Smith's or Wade Schalles' or Kerry Kolat. I think Kolat has one of the best series out there. I mean, technically, there are some really good ones out there. I think Gene Mills, if you want to learn half Nelsons and pinning, Mills is really, really good tapes. Kolat he's a short guy in his weight class. So if you're short, I'd live with Kerry Kolat tapes. And he's got a full, top, bottom, neutral pinning. He's on top of his game. Pinning, you just buy Wade's tapes. Because I will teach you tall and short. I will say, now this doesn't work really well with tall guys, but this will work for short. So I'll delineate during my videos. And John Smith, if you're tall, if you have a good reach, I live with some of John Smith tapes. If you're short, don't bother buying John's tapes. Because what John does is what I do, is what Kolat does, what Mills does, with Askren. Askren has some pretty good pin stuff out there, but basically that's just rehashed Wade stuff. And he's very, very good at it. And he's good. He's an instructor, and he, as an athlete, he was a hell of a pinner. But if you watch my tapes, you can watch Askren's tape, and you're seeing pretty much the same thing. I think I might have a little broader reach than he does, but whatever. So you have to know what your kid is capable of doing, and what he likes to do. And then you sell it as a parent, that, boy, you're really good at this. I don't know. Wow. Sell it to the kid. So I don't know if I'm on the same track as your question earlier.
Great. It's great. Keep it going. No, it's right on.
Well, when you want to pick up a girl, guys, you always give them two options. See, I'm breaking off here, and everybody's going, what the hell is he talking about? No, when you're trying to get a date, guys, if you're watching this, girls always like two options. Hey, would you like to go out on a date with me tonight? You gave her two options, yes or no. Okay. If she says yes, you win. If she says no, you lose. So don't be stupid. Give her two options. Hey, I got tickets to a Britney Spears concert tonight. Or, would you like to see the new Avatar movie? It just came out, the Disney new Avatar movie. So should I pick you up at 7 or 7:30 better? I gave her two choices: movies or play or a concert, 7 or 7:30. I don't care. Pick any one of the four. I win. So.
Yes. No, hey, it's like, I remember my problem is I never understood why people gave the option no, right? You pass a note in class. Will you go out with me? Yes or no? I put down, yes, I will go out with you. Yes, I'd love to go out with you. Now, that didn't stop the girl from making a third box, no, but I wasn't going to put the box there if I'm writing the letter.
Attaboy. So people are going to watch this and go, what the hell are these two guys talking about? Or the wrestlers might go, if I got anything out of the last hour, the Schalles Gene, we're talking about is how to get a date. Okay, so all right, let's get back to wrestling. Uh, you're right. I'm very creative, and I could have been probably a much better wrestler than I was, and that was pretty good because no one could coach me. When you're the first one doing it, no one knew. They just called it garbage wrestling. That never works. That's garbage. And I went, no, it's not. But okay, you know. And then I started beating pretty good kids with garbage wrestling, and then I went, well, he's kind of funky. Somehow I got cleaned up from garbage to funky. And I said, oh, okay. Then a couple of years later, someone dropped the Y from funky and it just became funk. And today it's called funk. But that's a misnomer too. It's good, solid wrestling. Let me tell you a story. Not that I haven't told any stories here. Now, this is not true, but you'll get the point here. Well, back in 1842 in New England, there was this football coach. And the athletic director said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a wrestling program. Would you like to be the wrestling coach? And the football coach goes, well, I don't know anything about wrestling. I'll give you $500 for the season. Yeah, your wife could use a new washer and dryer. Maybe, well, yeah, I probably could use $500. Yeah, okay, I'll be a wrestling coach. So, and the AD said, well, a football tackle, so we'll call that a double leg. Where you grab both legs and throw the guy down. So you already are a natural as a wrestling coach. And he said, well, okay. So he goes back and goes, what the hell am I going to do tomorrow? I got 10 kids that came out. I got no books I can look at. I got no videos I can watch. I have no coaches that I know of that I can call and say, what the hell do I do? So he made everything up, and then those 10 kids that he taught for a year or two or three, coached, they go out and they start programs and they have 10 kids each. So those 10 have 10. So there's 100 wrestlers in New England. And then those 100 go out and they teach 10 each. And then and eventually we're where we are today. And when you talk to coaches about the technique that they teach, now we have some great technicians out there that with videos and books and so on, they're getting much, much better. But for the most part, you say, coach, what, why do you teach it that way? Well, my coach taught me that. Oh, okay. Coach, where did he learn it? Well, his coach taught him that. Okay. Well, where did he learn it? Well, his coach taught him. And eventually we go back to the 1842 coach that didn't have a clue what he was doing. And ever since then, we've been doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And no one's ever questioned it. And the first guy in wrestling to say if I would show up at a coach, wrestling would go, hey, coach, have you thought about maybe doing it this way? Who are you to tell me what to do? This is my wrestling room. Well, okay. Just thought maybe you could because my coach taught me that. Where did he learn it? And you go back to the guy, and they made it all up. If I just wrote an article last week and got a lot of reviews and put on Facebook. If I ask any coach in America, and very few of them get it right, when you're pinning someone, where do you look? Do you look left, right? Do you look down? Do you look up?
I cheated. I read the article, but do you want me to answer wrong?
Yeah.
Most coaches are going to say you want to look up.
Look up, because it does. When you look up, it kind of puts your chest forward, and you get some chest pressure. But that's entirely wrong. You look down. What do you mean you look down, Wade? What's down there? His shoulders. What determines if he's pinned? If his shoulders are on the mat. And have you ever had a referee go, hey, Wade, it's the left shoulder. It's up about that much. If you push it down, I'll slap the mat, okay? Has a referee ever helped you? Nobody's out there except you. You have to look down to see the shoulders. You have to see if you're not hearing one of the shoulders or both of them are up. Which one? I don't know. Why don't you know? Because I'm counting lights by looking up. If you look down, you can see whether you slide in or slide back and put more pressure on the shoulder that's up. That falls under the duh category. But almost all my responses were you look up. Excuse me. I had to get rid of a phone here. I'm sorry. So you look up. but I had to figure it out all myself because no one told me any of that. So when I was wrestling, no one was around to clean up my stuff because they weren't even going to listen to it because they knew it was crap garbage. And the more I look at it, today, if you would watch Wade wrestle today, bring the videos, which I didn't have any videos back then, they were all photographs, or 8x10 photos in a box, and you go, old time stuff. You go, well, Wade was supposed to be amazing to watch. He's just like everybody else today. Well, yeah, I am like everybody else today because I started all this stuff. And so it's kind of like, it is Wade stuff from way back when. It's like if you take today's Corvette, and they're really some slick looking cars now, and you transported that back to 1972 and put it on the road, everybody would go, oh my God, what's that? In relation to all the cars that were being driven back in 72, developed and designed back then, the Corvette of today would be so back to the future. It would just be, but you see the Corvette today on the road. No, it's a Corvette. Okay, there's a Porsche. It's normal place. So I was the Corvette in 1972 from 2022, driving the roads back then. Everybody going, oh my God, what's he doing? Whereas today, what you're seeing is it was what I was doing back then. And wrestling has now become a lot more technical. And they're using the human body. And I had to keep on, arguing with my coaches, coach, why? I hear that you're saying to do it this way, but it doesn't make sense. I want to look at the shoulders to see what's up. Why would I look up? Why would I go this way? It's so easy to know which way to go if you know human biometrics or body motion in the arms and the legs and which way,
Right.
You sit down and look at it. It was simple to me. My mother was a medical doctor, and so I don't want to say I had any medical training, but I was around enough to watch the book. I loved artwork. My mother thought I could be an artist and do medical drawings for books. So I started playing a little bit with artwork and in the human body, and then I started looking at how it moves and how it doesn't move, and then I started analyzing that to wrestling. If you could, for the people who are listening and watching now, I want you to visualize the center circle of the mat being a clock. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and some person laying on his belly in the center of that inner circle. And his head is pointing at 12 o'clock. That means his feet are at 6. If I reach out with my right arm, I'm pointing at 3 o'clock, left arm would take me to 9. Now, no matter which way I lay on that mat, whether I'm in that center circle or anywhere on the mat, my head, the bottom guy, his head always points at 12, his feet always points at 6, period. Now, let's get back to the center circle. If he's on referee's position, hands and knees, and second thought, he's laying on his belly in a center circle. His left arm is good from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. His left arm is responsible for 3 hours on the clock. Anything that happens between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, his left arm is responsible for. His right arm from 12 to 3. Right leg, 3 to 6. Left leg, 6 to 9. So you have all 12 hours covered on the clock. 4 hours on the clock, 12, 3, 6, and 9, you have 2 appendages. 12 o'clock, left hand, right hand. 3 o'clock, right hand, right leg. 9 o'clock, left leg, left hand. 6 o'clock, left leg, right leg. So when you're working, now once you get that visual, now if I reach over like on a cross face and I get his left arm and I get him at the elbow and I pull the arm in, I'm pulled in his left arm, and that controls between 9 and 12. What direction do I run into him? What do I drive him over? Everybody in wrestling says drive at 9 o'clock. Well, he puts his left leg out there and he says go to hell, because his left leg goes out at 9 o'clock. You can drive all you want. He's not going to roll over. You're not going to break him down. Now, if you took him at 12 o'clock, I got the left arm, that's 12 o'clock. Why can't I knock him at 12 o'clock? Because I don't have control of his right hand. his right arm is good for 12 o'clock too. You always go halfway between the hours you have controlled. You have 9, you have the left arm, so you got 9 to 12 controlled, halfway between the two. If you drive at 10:30, he's falling over whether he likes it or not. He can't put his left leg out there. He can't get his right hand over there at 10:30. He's going over. So if I grab his left, if I reach that cross face and grab his ankle, so I have his left ankle and left arm, what time do I drive him at? I have 6 hours controlled. I got 6 to 12 controlled because I got his left arm, left leg. So I drive at 9. Halfway between 6 and 12 is 9.
Okay.
So, that's if I'm riding opposite side. I always ride opposite side.
So would this be the first thing, just to back up 1 second, this would be the first thing you show a wrestler, like you said, not stance and motion. You start off talking about how to pin the guy. This would be the first thing.
Well, let me finish this. And yes, that is, I'm going to that, and I may forget it. So I need you to bring me back to that.
Go ahead.
So once I start to know which way I'm driving the guy down, depending on what I have a hold of him here, the same thing is true when I have a half Nelson on him. What time do you drive at? You put your left hand in on a left hand half Nelson. The coach, the team, the fans are screaming, "Get him, roll over." Roll him over is the key words that are wrong. If he's like a log. If you roll him over and you're on his left side, you would be rolling him over at 3 o'clock. Okay. Well, he has 2 appendages over there that says, hell no, I'm not rolling. He'll put his right arm over at 3 o'clock, or he'll put his right leg out at 3 o'clock, and you can't roll him over. Now, don't put a half Nelson. They'll reach over and get a one-on-one on the other arm. That's typical of a half Nelson, far side one-on-one. Now, I've got his left arm. Roll him over. No, because you're rolling him over. You'd roll him at 3 o'clock. He's going to put his right leg out there. You'll run him in a circle for the next 2 minutes until the buzzer goes off. Then his coach goes, almost had it. We're so close. Keep trying. Yes. Coach, you're an idiot. No. You have his far right arm and a half Nelson. His right arm is responsible for 12 to 3, halfway between 12 and 3, 1:30. You drive at 1:30, not at 3 o'clock. You'll never get the guy over at 3 o'clock. But roll him over. They visualize rolling the guy over because the words roll him over, and they always go at 3 o'clock, or if they're on the air side, they go at 9, and it never works. So that becomes a problem. You have to understand the sport and what you see. Now, you wanted me to come back to a question which I've already forgotten, which comes with being in my 70s now, but okay, God help me.
No, you were going there just basically when starting a kid rather than stance, motion, penetration, step. That's where I guess it all started from here. We're talking about being willing to disrupt or question the status quo. Those guys back in 1842, they didn't necessarily have a philosophy or science behind it. They just did it that way. So we just kind of follow that as if it were handed to us from on high. And that's not always the way to do it. And then a guy like you comes along, challenges the status quo, finds maybe some more efficient ways of doing things. And then, hey, now a lot of people are doing that, but they weren't doing it before back when you came out. So that's where we go back full circle to the question of how should a kid understand the sport? What are the first things they should do? Traditional wisdom says, or custom shows us stance, motion, penetration, step. And you're saying instead we start maybe on top bottom with the clock to look at how to pin them?
Well, there's an order of instruction. And if we're teaching takedowns, I'll start at takedowns. You learn stance, elbows in, hands, halfway between your feet, your knees and your head, feet shoulder width apart. Okay, great. Do it again. They get in stance, stop, blow the whistle, do it again. Great. Now let me teach you motion. So stance, then we pitter patter back and forth, motion. Great job, stop. Okay, now we need level change because we're going to attack, say, legs. So stance, motion, level change. Come back up. All right, do that again. Ready? Stance, motion, level change. Great. Now we're spending, let's say, 5 seconds on each one of the drills. So 5 on the stance, 5 on the motion, 5 on the level change. Okay, now we need penetration. So we talk about stance. motion, level change, penetration, which is a drop step into your opponent. And they're doing it by themselves, just drop stepping across the mat. Good job. All right, now, then we have the finish up, where say we're in on a high crotch. We change off and drive him down. So stance, motion, level change, penetration, finish up. Good job. We got that high crotch down. Now, how much time do we spend on stance?
5 seconds, right? You said 5 seconds on each? Oh, the whole time you did stance, because stance was without, it was the first step in the full, right?
You spent 25 seconds on stance because there were 5 phases. You spent 20 seconds on motion, 15 seconds on level change, 10 seconds on penetration, 5 seconds on the finish up. Where are you best now?
Stance.
Where are you the shittiest?
The finish.
What's the most important part of the takedown?
The finish.
You got it back asswards, coach.
Right.
So when you're teaching takedowns, you start in, if it's a high crotch, in with the leg controlled and ready, blow the whistle, change off, knock him down. Good job. Now teach penetration, finish up. Then you teach level change, penetration, finish up. Then you teach motion, level change, penetration, finish up, and then stance. You've had 5 seconds on stance, 25 on finish up. As you get in on your takedown, you're getting stronger and more confident on your finish up, and you're getting better at it instead of weaker. Now, if you do back asswards, which I think is the right way to do it, when I say ready, go on drop step, finish up, you one continual motion, and then level change, penetration, finish up, one continual motion. If you do it the other way, stance, stop, stance, motion, stop. I'm teaching you to stop 3 times during that takedown in my drills. So then you're going to go, oh yeah, I know where he's going with this. How many times have you heard a coach go, Johnny, get over here? How many times do I have to tell you, you can't stop in the middle of the damn attack. Once you start in, you got to finish it. You can't stop. Well, coach, hey, yo, idiot, you taught him to stop 3 times or 4 times during that takedown when you drilled him every day. You taught him to stop. And now you're yelling at him for stopping? If you do it the other way, there's no stoppage. It's continual motion the whole way. So you teach backwards, which is not backwards. What we're teaching is backwards. You know, the right way is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was trying to tell my coach that when I was in high school, and he goes, no, you're wrong. Why? Well, the coach back in the 1842 told me that, you know, I was going, Coach, you can't explain it to me. This doesn't make, I had the clock back then. I was going, why am I going at 3 o'clock when I need to go at 10:30? I don't understand. And back when I wrestled, you had to pick up an ankle, reach back and get tight, near side tight waist, pick up an ankle and ride the hell out of it. And you could drop them down, sit on it, you know, and there was very little stalling back then, you know, called. Like today, you know, you got just start counting when you grab his ankle. And you could, you know, you could live on the guy's ankle back in the day. I said, why do I want to go back there? He said, well, that's the way I taught you. Well, where did you learn it? Well, my coach taught me that. Well, where did he learn it? I said, where the strength of the human body, what part of his body is the strongest? His neck, his shoulders, his arms, his biceps, his buttocks, his thighs? The answer is his buttocks and his thighs. The midsection, the core of the human body is the strongest part. Hey, coach, have you looked at me in the shower recently? I'm not a farm kid. I got scrawny arms. You want my scrawny arms to go grab his big, thick thighs and try to hang on to them. What are you, brain damaged? That doesn't make sense to me at all. I want to be up on top of his damn head where he breathes, the brain thinking, oxygen, blood flow. I want to shut that down. I want to get up there where he's weak. So I want to ride up. I'd get a near side one-on-one. I'd be up hanging on the back of his head, and trying to drive the front end down. Get back on his legs. No, that makes no sense, coach. And then you get into, I told you to do that, I'm your coach. But no, I can make him quit up here. I can't compete with his buttocks and his thighs. Not with these arms. Anyhow, so you're changing the philosophy and knowing what your strengths, what your weaknesses are. Now, in the order of things, I think every kid, every coach, and I will argue till I'm blue in the face, you start teaching your kids wrestling on how to pin. And you start with the same that did that with stance, motion, level change, penetration, finish up. You start with the guy on his back with the cradle on him, or the half Nelson, or the bar arm, and you teach him, the kid, how to hold him on his back from that position. Ready? 10 seconds, go. And he has to reposition himself on top to try to pin the guy. Whether he does or not, I don't care. But that's what he's learning. And then I put him on his side with a half Nelson. I have a half Nelson, he's laying on his side, not on his back. Ready? Go. And then you have to drive him over and hold him on his back and try to pin him. And then I have him go to the belly, put the half Nelson on. Ready? Drive over, hold him down. So we 3 phases there, and we're constantly going. There's no stoppage either. It's 3, 4, 5. Drive him over, put him on his back. And then I put him in a high crotch position where I'm backs up and I got my high crotch on. Okay, we're going to change off to a double, drive him down on the way down, not when he hits his belly. We're putting a half Nelson on him. And then you're going to drive him over and you're going to pin him. And then we do penetration, change off, jump is on his head, pin him. Then we do level change, penetration, finish up, pin, stance, blah, blah, blah. So we're backing up. So instead of teaching 5 positions, stance, motion, level change, penetration, finish up, we're teaching, if you do those 5 things right, you get 2 points. Take that. Oh, sorry, today, 3 points. Sorry, I'm living in the past. Okay, the rules committees, they have no clue what they're doing. But anyhow, if you do 5 things right, you get 2 points. If I throw in a 6th thing, stance, motion, level change, penetration, finish up, half, you get 5 points or 6 now. So if I teach you 5 things and you get 3 points, if I teach you 1 more thing, you double that. Why wouldn't you learn a 6th thing? So, I'm trying, and when you do that 6th thing, you have an opportunity to terminate the match where you might have got your ass kicked by this kid, but you happen to catch him. That's the other thing they said about me. He's a garbage wrestler and he catches. He can't beat anybody, but he catches a lot of people. So that diminishes what I was doing. So I'm, okay, fine, I catch a lot. Did I get my hand raised? Was I smiling when it happened? Okay. So you start with pinning and you work your way back. You never start with stance. Because if you ask the coach, show me your teaching, what you're going to teach this week, next week, your synopsis, your paperwork. He's planning on stance, motion, level change, penetration on a single leg, duck under, whatever, fireman's carry, whatever his favorite was. And whatever his favorite, if you have a heavyweight wrestling coach, unless he's really intelligent, he's not going to be very successful because he's going to teach a fat man roll on the bottom, and how to belly bounce on the front top, Greco a little bit. He's not going to teach a single leg, double leg, fireman's carry, duck under because he never did that. He's not going to teach a switch. He's going to teach a side roll because that's what he was good at. Well, only maybe 25, 30, 40% of the team is going to be good at a side roll. So he's teaching kids to lose. He's not broad-minded in, I have to divide the team up. What are they good at? What are they not good at? And I don't need you to sit down and if you have 32 kids, have 32 lesson plans, one for Johnny, one for Bob, one for Dave, one for Adam, one for Susan. but you can at least split them up into two, tall and short. Now there are more, you can break that down if you really want to get technical, but at least coach, at least split them up to tall and short, and then teach tall stuff and short stuff. Stand-ups on the bottom. Short guys, they only have that far to go to stand up. And they're strong and powerful. They can explode like a stick of dynamite, and they're on their feet, cutting through, and they're, teach them stand-ups. Yeah. The tall guy, he can't ever get up. So he's got to learn high turn-ins, short sit-outs, push back, cut through, but not a stand-up. He'll never get up. Never. And they'll try and they'll get struggle. So you pick out what's going to be good for Johnny and Susie and Barb and Dad, and teach with it. So there's a little bit about half Nelsons in the order, the structure of things, but all the outline the coaches have, stance, motion, and are you going to plan on teaching pinning? Oh yeah, absolutely, we're going to teach pinning. End of the season. When did you teach pinning? I never got to it. Why? They couldn't get the stance and the motion and the takedowns. I mean, if you can't take somebody down, you're not going to pin them. You've got to be good on your feet, or you're not winning wrestling matches. You're granted, you're right, coach. But you wanted to get the pinning, but you never did. And I understand why. But you should have started with pinning and then went back to your takedowns. Because, they may only get one. If you're really good on your feet and I'm only average on my feet, you can take me down 4 times. Okay. So now you're up 12-5 or whatever, 4 or whatever that is. And if I get my takedown once, the match could end. And you could be ahead. Because I know number 5 position after there's number 6 position, the half Nelson. So you can win a lot of matches. Wow, he was lucky he caught the kid. I'd rather be lucky than good. I was lucky a lot, and that was, but I would analyze the body and what I should be learning and what direction I should be driving to take a guy over to knock him down. Then I analyze, I see so much. I'm going to do one more tape before I die, videotape, and I want to do counters to great moves. I mean, just all counters. I don't know if I could do this justice on video here. A high crotch. It's so easy to stop. I don't stop the shot. I want you in on the high crotch. As you come in on the high crotch, you're going to take if you're going to lead with your right hand, you're going to come in on my right leg and then change off to a double and drive me across. So that right hand goes in really deep around my right leg. All I have to do with my right hand is I reach down behind me and I grab your right wrist with my right hand. Your lead hand goes in around my leg.
Right.
That's the hand I want. And I reach down from behind. It's like I'm pulling my wallet out of my back right pocket. I reach down past my right pocket and grab his wrist. It's over. You're done. That's all I have to do is grab your wrist. You can't change off to a double.
Would they crack you back? Crack down, maybe?
And then what I do is sprawl. And now I want to circle
right
counterclockwise to my left.
Right.
And it puts you flat on your back. And your head is caught here like this. And it's so simple. I mean, I'm sorry. You and I might be able to, I can visualize it because I've done it.
I could see it. If I'm in on your leg and you grab my wrist and I could only go to a crack back. I can't go this way.
Right. And that's the way I want you to go. I want to take you that way. So I'm going to put my left hand down on the mat and just slowly do a circle. And you end up, and you're getting cut off like this with my arm, and my body and my arms cutting you off this way so you can't breathe. Oh, but people, when they get in a high cross, they panic and they don't control the guy's hands. So the guy can change off and knock you down.
Let's do another one. Do another fun one like that.
If he's in on a high crotch, okay. How much you can see here?
Okay, I got you.
He's in on a high crotch.
Okay.
Okay. He's out to my side because when he comes in, he's going to step out to the left with his left leg and then drive across to my right.
Right.
So when he comes in on a high crotch, okay, and if I miss grabbing his wrist, and he's able to change off, as soon as he changes off, he's driving me that way to drive me down. So as soon as that hand comes across here, I grab it with the other hand. I can't grab it with the right hand. It comes across, I grab it with this hand.
Boom.
Now, okay, so my left hand.
Got it.
Okay. Now he's over here on my right side, going to drive me to my left.
Right.
So if you look at the points, all of this stuff. Entertain people.
I'm visualizing it. I'm with you.
All right.
Okay.
These are my shoes on the mat.
Right. Gotcha.
The ones with X's are my opponent.
Right.
So when he's ready to change off and he changes off, he's going to drive me
right
that direction.
Right.
So now I'll come back to that. If you're standing a square stance to me, stand up straight like an attention. Okay. Yeah. Well, you can if you want to. Now, if I push into you, boom, here, you fall backwards. If I would push you left, forget the high crotch, all that stuff.
Okay.
If I would push you left or right, because your feet are here, I'd have a hard time pushing you. If you had a lead leg, sugar foot, and one foot was in front, if I pushed into you, I couldn't push you back because you have your back leg pushing back, but I could push you left or right. So no matter where the feet are, if my feet are square, if I have a square stance, I can be pushed backwards because I have no post back there. Right. If I go lead leg, you can't push me back, but you can push me left or right because I don't have anything to the left or right.
Right.
So when we're back to this, we're in a straight line here. So which way, if I'm going to push him, which way would he fall over? That way or that way? But I couldn't push into him that way. My foot, my foot, his foot, his foot. I couldn't push him that way, but I can push him this way or that way.
Right.
You with me?
I think I got it.
So the only way when you're in this position, what happens in a high crotch, a guy changes off. I'm trying to push back into him to stop him from pushing me over. So I'm trying to counter what he's doing. He's pushing me left. I'm trying to push him right to counteract his push. But if I would take him forward or backwards, he has no support points if I'm going to take him up here or down here.
Okay.
Now, since he has a foot up, if I have a choice of going backwards, it's really awkward to go backwards. I mean, right. I'm just going to do a forward roll. In the big picture here, he changes off.
Right.
He changes off.
Right.
I grab his wrist. I'm going to reach over and just put my hand on his knee, on his thigh.
Gotcha.
And do a forward roll. I'm going to take him toward my front.
Right.
He has no post out there whatsoever. And you do a forward roll, and when I come out of the forward roll, you're on your back, and I'm on top of you with a half Nelson. It's so simple that I mean when you see it, you go, "Oh my God, what was that?" It was, that's ABC of wrestling. It's so simple.
But it starts with knowing what's holding him up, like what direction can he go, and that's what we're not used to thinking about. We think in terms of moves, not in terms of which direction can he go. Do I have that
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely, that's it.
How do we train that into them?
It's not hard to train it. You change the language, change the philosophy. Once you understand the clock, and where the posts are, because most of your wrestlers will take their volunteer. They'll they'll take their post away from a certain position. You just got to figure out which. If you have a table and you take a saw and you cut one of the legs off a table, the table will not fall. You put any weight over that one corner where the leg isn't, the table will fall. So what you have to do is just say, okay, I have 2 hands, 2 legs. I got 4 legs of a table. If I'm standing up, I'm a 2-legged table. If I'm referees, I'm sitting on a 4-legged table. Really 6, because I got my knees and my shoes down. But once you realize, okay, when you go in on a high crotch and you change off, you have all 4 legs, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a straight line. Because you're driving across it. Okay. So as soon as he starts to change off, he's vulnerable falling to his left or to his right because he has no support points out there. He's good going this way, but he's not good going this way. So I want to make him go the way that he's not designed not to work. If a guy has a sugar foot, pushing into him doesn't do you a damn bit of good. Moving him left or right does. If he has a square stance, push him back or pull him forward. Taking him left or right with a square stance, you can't move him because his points are out to the left and right. You can't take him that way or this way because the points, you have him this way, you can take him left or right. So
you're saying even in general, if you look at the guy you see he's got a square stance, that's going to impact what you're looking to, how you're going to break his balance. Versus if he comes at you with a stagger stance, that's going to impact how you make contact and how you look to break his balance.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because, kids are really good at adapting, adjusting. Once I start taking them this way, they'll put a hand out as a post if they have to, they're falling over. They learn to, when you fall forward when you're a little kid, when you're really young, 6 months, 8 months old, you fall forward. No one told you to put your hands out. He got a bloody nose because he fell flat in his face. And after at 1 year of age and 2 bloody noses, when you're falling forward, you put your hands in front of you, dummy, or turn your head when you're coming down. You learn that. You learn those things. And wrestling's the same thing. It's pretty easy to figure out. But what I try to do is eliminate my athletes who I'm coaching from getting bloody noses. I know they're going to fall. So before you fall, let's practice. Let's get down on our knees and fall forward, and don't put your hands out. Boom. Is that fun? No. I would teach them how to fall and put their hands out in front of them. Because so when they do fall when they're 8 months old, they at least they know to turn their head because it's never fun smacking your nose flat. Wrestling is not that difficult, but the most important thing for parents and coaches today is have an open mind to be willing to change some of the God-given rules of the road that really was made by a football coach who didn't know a damn thing about wrestling in 1842. Because so much of that today is what we wrestle with.
Right. No, it makes sense. And now when you talk about training the kid to their body type, the taller guys, the shorter guys, right? Would you do that right away with the kid? I mean, I could hear a lot of coaches, and even inside, I'm thinking, well, what if the kid grows? The kid could start off as a shorter guy and then move to be a taller guy.
Yes. And this really, and I appreciate it, and I am frustrated by it. I appreciate coaches being creative and thinking, well, what about this? Okay. But I get frustrated by coaches always saying, I don't like it. Or what about? When I'm teaching, when I write my articles and so on, I'm taking wrestling, which I believe sucks. Now, we're winning in worlds and things like that, but we could be dominating. But our high-end people are high-end, and I don't need to fix them at all. They're already high-end. I mean, that's great. And I have no idea where I was going with that. What was I talking about just before that?
Just in general about, oh man, now you made me lose it too. We were saying about how, okay. What about if the kid grows? And you were saying,
yeah. Okay, I got it. Coaches are really good at trying to figure out how to beat you with the technique. They analyze, we got this team this week. We got to learn how to stop their inside switch. or their cradles, or when you take risk of finger control. Okay, maybe come back to that, hand control versus finger control. We'll come back to that later. And coaches always, what if this happens? When I write and I say this is what we need to do for the rules committee, or I beat people up verbally or written, is they want them to start thinking out of the box. Wrestling, I think today, I'm making this number up, is at 42%. It's failing miserably in its test to survive in America as a competitive sport that fans want to pay money to go see, like the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, soccer. Wrestling, USA Wrestling Nationals took place 2 weeks ago, was it? Something like that. And the wrestlers were in Dallas, hell of a place to have wrestling. There's no wrestling fans in Dallas. But that's beside the point. The wrestlers outnumbered the fans. At the national championships, the wrestlers outnumbered the fans at the national championships. And we think we're okay. We're doing well. Like hell we are. Are you paying attention here? No, wrestling's fine. Look what we're doing for the youth of America. Well, look how much we could be doing for the youth of America. We're not on TV. Well, yes, we are with the NCAAs every year. Well, okay, one time a year. Because some ESPN does do a couple things every now and then, but nothing. They should have a match every Friday night or Saturday night, all season long. Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State, Nebraska, whatever. The Wyoming Seminary in Pennsylvania versus Cleveland St. Ed's, or I don't know who the other teams are that are good. I know what Wyoming is, or Blair Academy. They should have those matches, but they don't. And we think we're doing well, and we're about to get clobbered with this NIL money. What's going on? Where's the athletic director getting this money from? They're going to start dropping non-revenue sports. And the ones they're going to drop are the ones that spend the most money, and wrestling is up there as a well expending non-revenue sport. And we don't have one program in America making money. Penn State and Iowa lose money every year, even with the number of fans that they have. Now, because they're spending out a lot of money too. That's why they're number one and number two, basically. So we have trouble there. So the coaches are again teaching. I got off topic again. We were going to go back and talk about
we're talking about when the kid grows.
Oh yeah. So okay. So I think we're at 42%. What I propose in my rule changes and what I want to see happen, I'm going to get the sport to 80%. Okay. Now, all the coaches I run across go, yeah, well, Wade, what about this? And they're pointing out the 20% that I haven't fixed. And I go, yeah, I can only get you to 80. Maybe I'm not smart enough, good enough, whatever. And maybe I need creative people like you to come up with that extra 10%, 15, 20%. But I'm taking you from a 40 to an 80, and you're giving me shit. What's wrong with that picture? You walk into a classroom, the teacher says you're allowed to cheat. Cheating is allowed in this classroom. We're taking a test today. Wade's going to get an 80, and you're going to get a 40. And you're allowed to look at my paper, and you're not going to get yelled at. Well, no, I'd rather have a 40. What are you, an idiot? Look at my paper. At least cheat. You're going to get a passing grade. I can get wrestling up to a passing grade. But I get too many coaches going, I don't like it. I want to punch anybody who says that in the nose. I hate it when they say, well, I don't like it. Okay, you don't like it, why? Well, I just don't like it. Then if you can't answer the question why, you're not allowed to say, I don't like it. Because you're an idiot. If you don't know why you don't like it, I know why you don't like it, because someone else came up with it besides you. So shut up. Your opinion doesn't count. Now, I don't like it because, and you give me a because, okay, we can talk about the becauses. It drives me crazy. I don't like it. And, and coaches, now in their defense, they've been trained to try to, okay, this move works this way. Okay, if I do this, I can counter it. So they're always thinking in their head, how do I beat this move? How do I beat my opponent? How do I beat the other team? How do I make it successful? So they're always going through that in their head, and that's their mentality. And God bless them. That's a super mentality to have as a coach, but not as a leader, not as the rules committee. The rules committee are made up of these coaches. That's like having the fox in charge of the hen house, and they got the keys to the hen house. They're going to make rules that benefit them, not the sport. And they'll, no, this is good for the sport. No, it's good for you. Or you don't have a clue what it's good for. You have the wrong mentality. If you are a salesman, you should be on the road selling the product that the company manufactures. You shouldn't have any say on how the product is manufactured. Once I manufacture, I give you this product, go sell it. Salesmen should not be in administration. CEO, CFO, CIO. You put a salesman in charge of the CFO, finances, you'll go bankrupt in a day. But we have our rules committee guys in the CFO position, the CIO, CAO, or the CFO position, and they have no business being there because that's not their skill set. There's nothing wrong with the coaches. That's just not their skill set. But somehow we put them in charge, and they're making rules and regulations that have nothing. How many high schools and how many colleges have concession stands open during the dual meets? Not many. Why aren't you taking care of your fans? They're your paying public. And they decide they open one men's room, one women's room, bathroom because they don't want to clean everything after the match, and so the ladies and the guys have to walk further to go to the bathroom. Well, gee, we're making it really special for our fans, our paying guests to come in. We're doing some really nice things for them, and I wonder why they didn't come back. You can't take anybody off the street and have them come into a wrestling room, a wrestling match, and not elbow the guy next to him who he doesn't know or she doesn't know and say, "What the hell was that about? What's the ref saying?" This. I mean, our rules are. I mean, our rule book should be 10 pages long, not 100. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. When you watch Jeopardy at night with your spouse or a friend, I can get at least 50% of all questions on Jeopardy right. No, I'm not smart. I'm pretty good, but But if Jeopardy made the question so freaking hard, how many buttons were on Napoleon's vest when he had his hand in that photograph? I don't know, and who gives a shit? If I can't answer the questions, you're going to make me feel stupid. And when you make me feel stupid, I'm going to stop watching Jeopardy because you're making me feel stupid. In wrestling, we purposely make all of our new attendees feel stupid because the questions are so tough. The rules are so difficult and so varied on why did the referee start counting? Why did he not count? What's he talking about now? We make our fans feel stupid. And hey, do you want to come back? And I can't get a Coke and I have to walk an extra 50 yards to go to the bathroom? No. In wrestling, our problem in wrestling is our food sucks. We're a restaurant developer owner. You can have brand new carpet. You can have linen on the tables. You can have silverware and crystal. You can have free parking. You can, paint the walls. But if the food sucks, nobody's coming. You can find a shit shack in the middle of nowhere with great food, and the line is down the block and around the corner, people waiting to get a burger or whatever they're selling because they got great food. But the ambience is, it's terrible. Old dogs laying around, you have to step over dogs and rats and cats, and who cares? The food's great. In wrestling, we want to put new linen down and put new carpet. We want to paint the walls and wonder why people don't show up. Fix the food. Make it enjoyable. I want matches to be 14-12, not 2-1, 3-2. There's no reason why it can't be 14-3. But you have to incentivize action. And it's not hard to do. Just nobody wants to do it. Well, no, you have two good kids out there. It's going to be a 2-1 match. No, it's not. It's going to be, it'll be a Donnybrook if you coach it properly to use the angles and the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not 2, 1, 2, 3, 5, and if I was king for a day, just for a day, and I'm only allowed to change one rule in wrestling, just one. I have 25 I'd like to change, but just one. It would be a point earned is a point scored. Every sport in America, except wrestling. Every sport in America, let me repeat that. Every sport in America, except one, wrestling, does it this way. You score a basket. 2 points go up on the scoreboard for your team. You score a touchdown. 6 points go up on the scoreboard for your team. You score an ace. I get 15 love. I hit a grand slam. My team gets 4 points. In wrestling, I can outscore you 14-2, and now they allow me to have 3 points for that. Or no, it's 4 points now. I lose 8 or 9 points because that's not the way we do it. And people that come for the first time scratch their head. Huh? What? It should be, if you earned it, your team gets it. You lose 8-4. My team gets 4. The other team gets 8. That's what everyone's used to. No, wrestling has to be socialistic. Win by 1 point, you get 3 team points. Win by 7 points, you get 3 team points.
Yeah.
Why do I want to go to 7 when I can win by 1?
Right.
Because I have to open up a little more to go 7 points. I have to risk a little bit. So why am I risking it when I don't have to? All I give a shit about is getting my hand raised. 1 point, 12 points, 28-point difference. Hand in the air. But if a point earned is a point scored, coaches are going ape shit on the sideline. Take him down again. Put him on his back, damn it. Let him go. Take him down. Come on. I need more points. Because for every point that my athlete scores, I get up on the board. Coaches are not screaming at their athletes to wrestle. They're screaming, down block, play the edge, take half shots when you're up by a point. Just run the clock out. In the third period, if it's 5-1, everyone's going to the bathroom, going to Coke. They're talking among themselves about what they're going to do after the match, because nothing's going to happen for the next 2 minutes. The guy is down by 5 is already laid down and quit. The guy's,
good point.
And there's no incentive for the top guy to turn him over.
Good point. What do you make a pin worth then?
All right. Now, defaults, disqualifications, and pins are different.
Forfeits?
Or forfeits. 15 points, because that's what you can get. You get a 15-point difference, you have a tech fall. You're winning 20-5, match ends. One team gets 20 points, the other team gets 5. He's earned 20. He's created action. That's why the NBA went to 3-point arc outside the 3-point shot instead of 2-point. Incentivized to take those, because I yawn when I watch a layup, unless it's a boom slam, But if you can shoot a 3-pointer from half court, oh, that was great. I as a fan like that. So make it more points, so I can incentivize the athletes to start learning to shoot 3-pointers instead of 2-pointers. So you can please me as a fan who's paying the money to come back next week and watch the game again. We don't incentivize in wrestling. It's socialistic. So the answer to your question, 15 points. If I'm winning 8-2 and I pin you, 8 plus 15 is 23. I get 23, you get 2. You get the 15-point separation there. Now the pin really means something. Oh shit. There's going to be half Nelsons, headlocks, cradles all over the place.
Because if there's a pin, there's no points. You just get 15 straight up, right?
Well, if you put a guy on his back, you're going to get at least count before the pin. So you might get 2-point near fall plus the 15. You get 17-0.
Okay.
Okay. Now they go, I can't do that. I can lose 2 matches out of 10. Penn State, Sanderson say, if I get pinned in 2 weight classes and I win 8, I could lose a duel. Yeah. And your point is, Cale? What's your point? Well, that's not fair. Well, it's fair in football. It's fair in basketball. How many points does the tackles, guards, center, defensive halfback, linebackers make? They don't make any points. Quarterback makes almost all of it. So, reward the producer. The producer of the guys getting pinned. If you can only teach 8 kids on your team to win by 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 points, and you can't teach them pinning, you should probably be replaced as a coach. I mean, I lost 2, won 8, and these guys beat me. But one 6'11" basketball player in high school, surrounded by 4 average basketball players, will have his team in the playoffs and maybe a state title. A great quarterback or a great running back in high school will put his team with an average team in the playoffs.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Tennis, you play singles and you play doubles. One guy scores 2 wins on 7 out of 7. They have 5 matches and 2 doubles. He's doubling his score. Why don't we have heroes in wrestling? Where's our Babe Ruth? Where's our just any of the names that are great out of Mark Spitz? The second, well, let me finish the 15-pointer. So you get, now, coaches right now, people are going to, that's crazy, Schalles. Okay, fine, give them 10 points. I don't give a shit. But the idea is reward the producer. If you believe in the concept, say, I believe in the concept, Wade, so let's now negotiate how many points they do get. Okay, I'm with you. Now, if it's less than 15, people are just going to rack up points, put a guy on his back, take him back off, put him on his back, take him back off, because he'll get 15 points, for not pinning. And if you give him 8, he's only going to get 8 to pin. So as soon as I lateral drop your headlock, I'm going to let you off your back because I don't want to pin you. So it almost has to be 15, and forfeits. Oh my God, if you go to a movie, you pay your $10 to go to see the latest movie, and the projectionist cuts 20 minutes out of the middle of the movie. Are you happy? No. Have you got cheated? Yes. Okay. And I know I'm going to tie this into something in a second. And that's what we do in wrestling. We cheat. Oh, that's the forfeits. That's what we're talking about. And if you order a dozen oysters at a restaurant for $25 and you get 9 oysters and they still charge you $25, are you pissed? Uh-huh. I ordered 12, not 9. I'm paying for 12, not 9. But in wrestling, we feel it's okay to forfeit a weight class or 2. These people who have come to the match have paid for 10 oysters, 10 matches, or high school 13 oysters. But we're only going to give them 8. But you're going to pay the same amount. You can't win your spectators coming back, your customers, when you cheat them of what was promised. I would like to see someone take them to court and, over the 2 that you didn't get. I want $1.12 back, because you cheated me out of what I was going to see. That's not fair to the consumer. But it's okay because our rules committee doesn't see it that way. No, they won't even think of it that way. They're cheating the customer. Well, what are we going to do? Well, simple. You forfeit a weight class, you lose a duel. We still have the duel. We still have scores individually, but the match is already over before it starts. You forfeit, you lose the dual meet. You can't play with unless you play with 4 players in basketball. You forfeit the game. You can't play with 9 people on a football field. You forfeit the game, and they don't even then play the game.
Right, and technically, it's more than $1.12 that they owe. They owe $1.12 times everyone in the building who paid for it.
Yeah. That's the idea. But you're cheating The customer is right all the time. That's why we don't have fans. You know, we have less than 500 fans per dual meet on average out of the top 10 teams in America. Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Ohio State, Nebraska, whatever. Whoever the top 10 teams are this year, and you average up all the fans that come in for all their dual meets, you don't have 500 people. How do you survive with less than 500 paying customers when you have a Penn State's budget? You know, I don't know, $1.5 million. I don't know what the hell they're spending, but it sure as hell more than $100,000. You know, we're so deep in the hole, and no one even thinks. I don't think anybody that listened to this video knew that, because no one looks at the numbers. I'm not a CFO, but I know enough to look at the numbers. You know, and I know what my customers want, base. So, second rule I would add in there would be you're allowed to, we call it doubling up. You're allowed to double up 3 times a year. Anybody on your team may wrestle 2 weight classes in a dual meet, but no more than 3 times a year. I'll cover the 3 in a minute, but so you can wrestle 125, and then stay out on the mat for 133. Or come off the mat and go back out for 141. Because you need a little break. Why not? What's wrong with that? If you were going to watch the Los Angeles Lakers, and you know, you get your kid all excited for watching LeBron James play, and he goes out and he plays for the first 2 minutes of the 2 hours, and then they bench him for the rest of the game. Is anybody in the gym happy? No, hell no. They are upset. I paid to come watch LeBron James, and you benched his ass after 2 minutes. That's what we do in wrestling. Get him off the mat. Get our best athletes off the mat. We don't care for you as customers. We don't give a shit what you think. We don't care that you come. Don't come. Because all the coaches care about is whether they win the dual meet, win the tournament. They don't care who's in the stands. The more people in the stands, the more responsibility he has to make sure the bathrooms are open, they're clean, the concession stands are taken care of. They got people, more than 2 people taking tickets so that flow of people can come in and back out quickly. You know, and the coach doesn't want to have to do any of that. So he doesn't want fans. He just wants to win the dual meet. He just wants to have people at the NCAAs at the end of the year, if it's a college level or at the states and high school level. And I can see their point of view, but sometimes you got to force uncomfortable things on people. Sometimes you have to clean around your desk when you're working during the end of the day or whatever. Anyhow, doubling up. Now we're making heroes. And now you have a LeBron James type person in wrestling. When you can beat the 3rd placer in the NCAAs in one weight class, go up and beat the NCAA champ in the next weight class and beat his ass too. Now we're talking about front cover of Sports Illustrated. Do you know in the history of Sports Illustrated, there's only been 7 people that had an article in Sports Illustrated for wrestling? I'm one of them. Wow. And we haven't had one in the last 40 years or 30 years in Sports Illustrated. Why is that? Because no one gives a shit about wrestling except us. We've got to start thinking about the sport and stop thinking about me, I, and what we need to do for the sport. In business, you need to have a CEO, a CFO, a CIO. You take those 3 people and you pull them out of the corporation and you have a boatload of directors. The company fails. There's no leadership. There's no decision-making at the top. There's no, this is where we need to go. You have no marketing guys. Well, how are you going to advertise them? How are you going to sell anything? You need to, we understand the corporate structure and why you need each particular. In wrestling, we only have directorships. We have nobody above director making decisions about marketing that pertains to everybody in the sport itself. We have nothing with CIO, CFO making decisions, overseeing, and have a board of directors that have nothing to do with the company other than they get a pretty nice salary on the side, and they're not in these, but they're making business decisions. In wrestling, we have the head of USA Wrestling, but he doesn't give a shit about the NCAA. We have the owner of Win Magazine, but he doesn't care about what Ohio State's doing in wrestling other than to write about it. And that's not his responsibility. We have the NWCA and the head of that executive director there. His job is to help coordinate what goes on with the coaches. He doesn't have any decision to making about what happens up above. We don't have anybody above the director level overseeing the sport. Football coaches do not tell anybody when they're going to play the football game, at what time, on what field, on what day, or what rules they're going to use. They don't have any say on that. They say, coaching, kickoff's at 1 o'clock. You're going to be at the Clemson Stadium, for the kickoff, and these are the rules. Have a nice day. Go coach your kids. Our coaches make all those decisions, and they don't have a clue what they're doing. They're not professionals in those areas. We have so few marketers in wrestling. I'm probably one of the best ones out there, and no one asks my opinion about anything except you now. I do some other ones of these too, but we need to regroup what we're doing here. And back to our doubling up. You can only double up 3 times a year now. And I have to put that in for this reason. I don't want to have, Lee from Iowa go out at 25 and 33 every dual meet because the 33-pounder, why do they need a 33-pounder? What if Lee gets hurt? They don't have a 33-pounder because the 33-pounder has already quit. Why am I working out to sit on the bench and never get to wrestle because Lee's wrestling all my matches for me? So he quits and they don't have one. So when Lee gets hurt, they're forfeiting 25 and 33 now. But if he goes 3 times a year, the 33-pounder will go, well, okay, I understand why they're moving him up. I'm not going to wrestle this match. Out of the 35 matches we're having this year, I'm going to miss 3 of them. Okay. But he's not really upset because the 3 that they're moving him up against, he probably was going to lose to anyhow. So it'll probably help his record. And now the coaches, strategy-wise, now the fans are up there going, there's no strategy for the fans. They just have to watch the wrestling. What's Kale going to do? God, is he going to put RBY out there in the next weight class and use one of his 3? Wait a minute. They're down right now by 12 points. They may need to do that, but he still has Iowa, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, and Wisconsin on the schedule, and he may need RBY for one of those. I can't put him out for 5 times. I got to put him out for 3. So what do you think Kale's going to do? Is he going to put him out for this one, or is he going to hold him back because he has Iowa next weekend? He might need to double him up there. And so there's strategy, and the fans are involved in that. Put him out, no, move, yeah. You're getting the fans involved. Right now, we don't want the fans involved at all, other than clapping when they have a takedown. There's no strategy involved. That's all the coach's responsibility. Well, make it the fans' responsibility. They're cheering in the stands in football, basketball. They got, the UFC started 25 years ago. They're a multi-billion-dollar company using basically wrestling as the backdrop, for the skill sets. And, they've taken off because they had marketing people. They had executives. They had intellectuals that knew how to run a business and create a business. We don't have that in wrestling, and we're happy with that. Who's thinking of what's going on out there? I mean, technically, wrestling strategy, the 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock position, how to beat a guy here, how to mentally crack a guy for the match, how do we take care of the fans? I'm not good at any of that. I'm not great at any of that. I'm good at all of that, but not great at any of that. But I know what we don't have. I'm smart enough to know what we don't have. And I'm smart enough to say, I'm not the person you want, but I know enough to say, you need to get that guy, whoever that guy is, and get him up to the top. And
it's very similar to what you're saying about technique, because what you're doing here is you have to zoom out a little bit and say what is needed versus just go, go, go. Let's do. It's like take a step back and think what is actually needed. How do you grow the sport? Not just get people in the sport. It's not just a matter of just force, but strategize.
Yeah. And why doesn't wrestling have any ties with charitable organizations like Wounded Warriors, Tunnels to Tower, Make-A-Wish Foundation? Because we have no leadership. Leaders would see the benefit of that. And no one wants to do that. Well, why is that important, Wade? Well, when we lost the Olympics in 2013, was it? Is when they voted us out. Oh, shit. We were scrambling, but we had to scramble among ourselves. We didn't have any allies. What's an ally? Wounded Warrior Project, Tunnels of Towers. When you helping them do what they want, when they clear their throat, make a phone call to an athletic director at Slippery Rock when they dropped wrestling, the athletic director goes, oh shit, I'm talking to the CEO from the Wounded Warrior Foundation. And the Wounded Warrior Foundation CEO is finally saying, you might want to rethink this because, I can make you have a pretty miserable year, with little publications of what we're doing on why this wrestling is the only team at Slippery Rock that is giving to Tunnels to Towers to help our wounded warriors and our service people who lost their lives, and they want to drop wrestling. That hits the news. The athletic director at Slippery Rock goes, maybe I shouldn't drop the sport. You're damn right. When shit hits the fan, and stuff's gonna hit the fan pretty soon, and we're not doing any of that to protect ourselves. What's it take to be a member to support Wounded Warriors Association? I don't know if I could help it all work out, but I know enough that to know we need them.
We need to be thinking like that, yeah. And
they could use us. I mean, the Wounded Warrior Project, their corporate logo is one serviceman carrying another serviceman in a fireman's carry off the battlefield. And who recruits special forces? All of them. They go to wrestlers. They can't get enough wrestlers. I mean, the synergy there is so perfect, but no one's even thought to do that. And we don't have any organizational chart above that can make that happen. I'm not sure the Wounded Warrior Project wanted to spend a whole bunch of time talking to the wrestling coach from Ohio State about just what could that one sport at one institution, it's not Ohio State wrestling, it's just one sport, one institution, do to benefit them at the level of how much time and effort they got to put into, saying Ohio State's supporting us. We need to make it the sport of wrestling, but we don't have any leadership. I mean, all our leaders, AAU, USA Wrestling, National Wrestling Coaches Association, High School Association, Win Magazine, Amateur Wrestling News, Hall of Fame with Leroy Smith. They're all busy doing their own job, but there's nobody above them. You could take those people that I just mentioned and put them on the board of directors, but you need someone above them going, here's what we need. Here's our overarching view of the sport. This is what we need to do for our fans, our spectators. This is what we need to do to fill the gyms. When we fill the gyms, by the way, coach, are you happy with your $40,000 college job as a head wrestling coach? Would you like me to raise that to $240,000 for you? Is that a trick question? No. Would you like 240? Yeah. Then shut the hell up and do what I tell you. Because I want to fill your gym. When I fill your gym, now you have leverage over the athletic director to give you that 240 because you're bringing in an extra $1 million a year because of what you did as a coach. And if you don't like that, I'll go someplace else. Someone else will pay me 240. And good luck finding another guy. So when you put butts in seats, your salary goes up. And if you can't understand that, coach, let me talk to your wife. I'm sure she'll explain it to you.
That's right. And that's why whether you're coaching or whether you're managing an organization, you have to be looking at the big picture, not just micro level. No, that's huge.
And you can't come in with a wrestling coach mentality because you're always going to make decisions based on the wrestling coach mentality of W's and L's. And that's not what's good overarching for the sport.
Right.
And that's, and I'm not trying to belittle any coach. He's an engineer. I'm not going to the hospital and have him surgically remove my kidneys or my spleen or whatever.
Right. You need the right people in the right places, doing the right things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
That's
right now the rules committee is all wrestling coaches basically, and they get together and they're making rules in the 3-point takedown rule. And you mark my words, at the end of the year, they're going to come back because they've caught some shit over this. the 3-point rule. Hey, look what we've done. We increased the total number of points scored in every match by 30%. Really? Congratulations. Because you went from 2 points to 3 points, you up to 33%, and you only went up 30%. You can't, charge $5 for a hamburger instead of $3, and then crow that you brought in more money. Okay, what you've done, you're going to have more points on the board, not more action, more points on the board. And you're saying, look, I got more points up there, but no more action. 3-point takedown, 2-point takedown, same number, same amount of action. But what you have now is you diminished back points and you've diminished pinning, because it's easier to get to a tech fall now than it is to pin. Okay. It's, coaches are going to now, because you've given more points to the takedown, they're going to focus more time on takedowns because it's worth more points. Duh. And that's just human nature. So I'm not yelling at any coach for doing it, coaching that way. I'm yelling at the rules committee for creating that. Make it a 3-point, make it a 7-point takedown. I don't give a shit. But if you're going to make a 7-point takedown, then near fall should be 4 or 7 points. And if you hold them down for an extra 5 seconds, it should be 12 points. Make back points important. If you're going to up the points for free or takedowns, then you got to up the points or you're diminishing the importance of what everyone says. The object of wrestling is to pin. They say those words, but then the rules say this the opposite, like the politics today. The border is secure. Really? If you've been watching TV, these people they say one thing and they do another. We're looking for the betterment of the sport.
Got to be consistent, right? And it starts with knowing the ends, like keeping the end in mind. What are we actually looking for? No, it's great. It's a lot of great points. Well, it's very apparent that we need to do a part 2 of all this, because there's still a lot more I could ask you. But
we haven't even got into it.
No, I know. We'll get into it another time. I'm excited, and we did get into quite a bit as well. So,
and I have to apologize for whoever I've offended, but I get so very passionate. Sometimes I say things I shouldn't necessarily say, but there are points I want to make, and I usually shortcut instead of giving you 15 words to make a point, I'll cut it down to 3 and say a bad word or offend somebody. But hopefully people got an opportunity to make them go, never thought of it that way. That makes a lot of sense. What I'd like to do at the end, before I die, I'd like to get a point earned, point scored through. I mean, if I can get that through, that makes so much difference. I mean, mega difference in sport. And to do that, what I'd like to do now is go out and find, and I know who they are, say 10 of the most influential people in wrestling, money-wise. Okay. Who have donated hundreds of thousands and plus that to the sport of wrestling, from Sunkiss Kids owner, to Titan Mercury, not owner, but director. I don't need to mention names, but you get the idea. To pull in 10 people that if they're working as a group, when they clear their throat, every coach in America will go, oh shit. Gulp. And sit down and go, guys, what do we need to do in wrestling? Forget this, whether we're teaching a half Nelson or cradle or the rules. From a marketing, from a CEO, CFO, board of directors, I need you 10 to be a board of directors for 2 years to get our, 2 weekends a year, donate your time, and meet at the Hyatt in Chicago on a weekend and have a closed door, you beat the sport up. What do we need to do? And then with your input and your knowledge of boards of directors, of CEOs, of running mega companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, and we have a lot of important CEOs out there doing that have wrestling backgrounds, we're going to then force this information onto the wrestling community. And they're going to tell Cale Sanderson, and Tommy Brands and John Smith, who are also doing wonderful, wonderful jobs. But they're some of our power kings in wrestling as from a coaching perspective. All of you, this is what we're doing. And this is how we're going to go about it from the Wounded Warrior Project. Okay, as an example too, how do we organize this? How do we enhance television coming in and covering us? What do we need to do here? And whether you like it or not, Coach, we can spit in your coffee and spit in your cereal really quick if you're not on board here. You're either on board or you're off board. And right now you're on a boat in the middle of the Atlantic. You're either on board or you're swimming for your life. Make a decision, because we can make your life miserable. You got a choice of two. And I think I know where you're going. And whether they like it or not, hopefully they see the wisdom of it. And if everyone's doing it, then we'll go, well, okay, everyone's doing it. But we need to bring those 10 people together, and just even for a year, and say, here's the playbook, guys. Here's the strategy. Here's what we're going to do as a team. USA Wrestling, I don't care what you'd like to do. I know you're independent, autonomous to your own group, but you're jumping on board, or I'm going to strangle your butt real quick. From number of memberships in your organization, we can cause problems with you. Or in NWCA or Win Magazine, whatever. Everyone is on board, and we have to go out and then market ESPN, ABC, CBS Sports. That we a Friday night dual meet all season long, and make it worth their while to cover. Anyhow, so there's a lot of things we can do, and I got some vision for that. Again, I'm only an 80%er, but when wrestling's batting at 40%, you should be paying attention to what Wade has to say. At least let me get you up to 80, and then after that, I'm going to get the hell out of the way and let those wiser and smarter and more experienced than I have run with it. And I'm just going to sit back and grab a Coke and sit in the stands and go get him, champ.
It makes a lot of sense. Wade, awesome stuff. Great, and we got to definitely do a part 2 on top of all this. But tell everyone where they could find more information from you. What website do we send them to? Social media pages?
Well, just, my Facebook, Wade Schalles, and all my articles I have at wadeschalles.com. I fit all of them there. That blog has a little over 3 million hits, so it's the most successful blog there is in wrestling. So, that's something to do. I write books too. This is my first book. My second book comes out next week, the sequel to this, Jacob's Cradle. This has 28 reviews on Amazon, where you buy it at Amazon.com. It's $15. I'm not going to break the bank. But all 28 reviews, all 28 out of 28 are 5-star reviews from the heads of USA Wrestling, Win Magazine, NWCA, and so on, as well as fans. It's a love affair. There's wrestling involved, CIA, spy versus spy, good guys, bad guys, and they ride off in the sunset, maybe, I'm not sure, at the end of the book. And this is Jacob's Cradle. The next one is Charlotte's Gap, comes out next week. And the third one's already outlined. It's coming out. So this is 3, 4, number 5 books I like to write. I do that on my side with a reasonable amount of scotch on the side, glass of. And let me leave you with a little joke. Why don't horses have psychological problems?
Why?
Because they were raised in a stable environment.
That's right. Very good. And with that, the great Wade Schalles. Wade, thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
I have a lot of those. See, when I teach the little guys, in 15 minutes of teaching the little guys, they're up, and you have to herd them back like herding cats. Then you tell them another joke like that, and they go, and then they tell you a joke, and then you go back, you got them for another 15 minutes, and you lose them, and you bring them back, tell them another joke. So you get a lot of those knock jokes. And why do eagles and hawks prefer to land on the roofs of churches?
Why?
Because they are both birds of prey.
Birds of prey. That's it. We got it. You got an idea for a joke book now as well. Add that to the arsenal.
Yeah. And anyhow, I'm having fun. I've really enjoyed the sport. I've had wonderful coaches and great opportunities and wonderful people that have been there when I've fallen over to pick me up, dust me off. And I owe so many people, Bub at Clarion, obviously Neil Turner, the late Neil Turner, he was great. My high school coaches, my dear friend who started me in wrestling, Gary McCarthy. Without him, I don't know where I'd have been. But there's been so many people along the way, and I've watched, listened to Kale talk, and I've learned things that he doesn't even know that he's taught me. And just little things I pick up on contemporary people today. And I mentioned Kerry Kolat being one of the best we've ever had. And there's so many people like that. Rob Cole is probably one of the best administrators we've had in the sport of wrestling, who's now coaching at North Carolina. He left Stanford, went back to his alma mater, and you watch North Carolina will be on top of the game real quick. It'll be a lot of fun to watch what happens there. But God bless everybody. Happy New Year. I do
Thank you,
appreciate
Wade.
it.
Take
Thank
care.
you.